90.3 WHPC now presents Law You Should Know. The law affects every aspect of our lives, our home, our jobs, and our recreational activities. Now, learn about the law and how to protect yourself against the loss of your liberty or property, and learn how to stand up for your rights and seek compensation when you have been wronged. Your host for Law You Should Know is attorney Kenneth J. Landau, a past dean of the Nassau Academy of Law, and frequently lectures to lawyers on ethics and avoiding problems with clients, and to the public on how to choose and use lawyers. This is Law You Should Know on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hi, this is Ken Landau, and welcome to Law You Should Know. Today's a special program about kindness for lawyers. We're doing the opposite of what Shakespeare said. We don't want to kill the lawyers, but we want lawyers to be kind and people to be kind to lawyers and lawyers to be kind to each other. Our special guest is Beth Desson Duffy, and she's the author of a book about kindness, and she is going to share with us ideas on how lawyers can be kind to themselves and kind to each other. Beth, welcome to Law You Should Know.
Thank you for having me, Ken.
Why have you focused on kindness? Why is it so important to all of us?
As a mother with young children, and I saw the way, what they were experiencing in their school and with their friends, I saw that there was a need for my husband and I to step up to the plate and help start teaching and practicing kindness in our own family, and we found some of what we learned was helpful for others to know as well.
Should someone evaluate whether they're a kind person, whether they can do better?
That's a great question. And if you go online, there are a lot of different tests that you can take that ask, are you a kind person? But one we liked in particular is conducted by the Harvard Medical School graduate. It's Tara Cosino, and she rates you. There's about 10 questions as to your kindness level.
So your kindness quotient.
Right.
And people can take the test on your website.
Yes.
Does practicing kindness, whether it's by a lawyer or someone else, does it actually help your physical and mental health?
Believe it or not, yes. You know, to some people, this is no great surprise, but to myself, you know, I was amazed to learn that practicing kindness improves your physical and mental health. And there are various ways, but two or three I'd like to mention.
Sure.
For instance, it lowers your blood pressure. It helps improve your immune system. And also it helps alleviate depression and anxiety.
And how does it help relieve depression and anxiety?
Hormones called endorphins are released. And these are the same ones that are released when you're exercising. But in the kindness community, they call it a helper's high. So when you do a kind act, there's a release of endorphins and you actually do feel better. And that the reason is because endorphins are released.
And there's no detrimental side effects, only good stuff.
Yes, none that we know of.
If a lawyer or other person, young or old, puts this in their daily practice, they're going to be happier and they're going to start the ball rolling because one good deed they do may lead to a good deed by someone else.
Yes. And also, it can help decrease their stress levels, which, you know, overall, if the temperature in the room with a client is lowered, and perhaps it would facilitate better dialogue and connection with the client.
Now, you do mention an interview with Katie Couric where she offered suggestions about practicing kindness and how it helped her or helped others. Can you share those? Yes.
So, you know, when I was talking about that, our U.S. Surgeon General this past April released a advisory on loneliness. And he said that it's an epidemic, not only in our country, but in the world. And he gave Katie 4 specific examples on how to alleviate loneliness and create more connectivity. And when I share these with you, it's going to sound a lot like practicing kindness, okay? So the first one, he said, this is our U.S. Surgeon General to Katie Couric. He said, spend 15 minutes reaching out to somebody you care about. It could be a text to a friend or a call to your mother. Okay, that was the first example. Number 2, when you're spending time with someone, having dinner with them or breakfast, focus entirely on them and don't spend time on your devices. Third is to extend kindness to people around you, whether you're in line at the grocery store or if you're talking to a neighbor. And then the fourth one he mentioned was to find ways to be kind to people that you encounter during the day. And, again, these all sound like acts of kindness, which are promoting connectivity and reducing loneliness.
And sometimes they can be random and spontaneous, as opposed to making a donation to a charity, holding the door for someone, helping them cross the street, just engaging in some kind of little conversation with them, even maybe saying hello or asking them how they are.
Correct. The ripple effect. It's interesting, but from what I've learned also, you don't even have to do the act of kindness yourself to reap the benefits. Just observing someone else doing an act of kindness to, if you're standing in line and you see something nice happen, you reap the benefits even if you don't do it yourself.
And if you pay at the cashier for the cup of coffee of the person behind you, you may trigger a whole chain of goodness.
Yes.
Let's just go back to the basic definition of kindness. So how can this help a lawyer and help their practice? Will they be looked upon more favorably if their clients and others view them as kind?
I specifically looked into an article written by a lawyer talking about kindness, and I think that you would agree with this. Practicing kindness can increase a happiness level, increase their health, mental and physical, and perhaps increase the bottom line by helping create a better working environment with their coworkers as well as with clients.
No, and I agree with all those ideas. And certainly clients, if you're kind to them, if they see you being kind to others, I'm sure it's going to enhance their view of you and your relationship with them. How else can it help the law practice or help you in the law practice?
So I can mention it in a different way, is to decrease the stress level. And that, again, helps to create a sense of connection and help with, working relationships in general.
So it's kind of goodness that can spread in the community. Good karma.
Yes, good karma. And that's, when you, for instance, you might say, well, what is a lawyer to do? How do I do that? What is a random act of kindness? Well, an idea might be, to listen attentively to your client, respond promptly to calls, texts, or emails from your client. Be patient with your client because they don't know everything that you know. And, all these things I think would make a client feel more comfortable.
And you also want to decrease their stress level because, dealing with lawyer and dealing with legal matters can be very stressful. So the more you can do to support them and to feel they're supported and make things easier for them, that's going to go a long way in helping them with their legal matter and enhance their satisfaction with you or your firm. So I know you mentioned a book written called How Friendship and Optimism and Kindness Can Help You Live to 100. Tell us more about that book and some of the tips there and why it does help you live longer.
So kindness, again, has been shown to decrease blood pressure and cortisol, which is a hormone directly related to stress. So the people that, give kindness tend to be healthier and live longer. Also, it's good for your mind because practicing kindness can positively change your brain by boosting levels of serotonin and dopamine. And they found that when people are feeling better and have a greater sense of satisfaction and well-being, natural painkillers are released called endorphins. And that overall sense of well-being helps your overall health as well. And another thing to notice in that book is that it's not only kindness to other people, but kindness advocates always say that kindness begins with yourself. And before you can extend it to other people, to be sure to practice kindness to yourself because you can't give what you don't have.
And it's just like when they talk about the airplane, always give yourself the oxygen before you help others with it. So I just want to come back to that in a minute, what lawyers and others can do to be kind to themselves. But I'd like to remind our listeners, I'm talking with Beth Desson Duffy, and we're talking about how being kind can help lawyers and their clients. So how can people be kinder to themselves?
I think as they start each day, when you wake up, consider how can you be kinder to yourself that day. So instead of perhaps a long-term approach, one might think of it each day, be intentional. It's not random, but how am I going to be kinder to myself today? And, with that, you can also think about what would be my intentional act of kindness today to others. And, over time, even if you do it for a week, see how you're feeling after that first week, after, practicing the kindness to yourself as well as to others.
And a little kindness can go a long way. And I do want to remind our listeners that you're listening to Law You Should Know here on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College in Garden City, New York. If you want to listen to the podcast again or tell someone else about it, just go to the website, nccradio.org. So what are some things that people can do to be more kind to themselves?
Okay. So what I'd like to say is there's some kindness challenges that are also available online that can give you, like 25 to 50 ideas of how to be kind to yourself. But some that I can just briefly mention now would be to, for instance, wake up early and exercise, smile. That's a gift that makes you feel better. Reach out to someone that you haven't talked to in a long time to enrich yourself. Also being in nature oftentimes is a gift to yourself. Go for a long walk if you can. Another gift to yourself could be don't complain for 24 hours. Are any of those sounding interesting to you?
Yes, and I think, you can even start with small steps. You can exercise a little bit. You can, just take gradual steps to do something, to be kind to yourself, reward yourself with something you would enjoy. So it can be a gradual process of being kind and, get the ball rolling. And can you offer us some more tips?
Yes. One tip I'd like to say is that it's interesting, but I've noticed on your New York State Bar Association website and the American Bar Association and, for instance, the Ontario Bar Association, they're all talking about kindness in law practice and the benefits of kindness. And they also give some ideas. And some are as simple as you said, Ken, like, for instance, make it a point to listen to others and don't interrupt. I guess that's something more that's, in the office. But another way you could be kind to yourself is to schedule breaks, schedule a vacation, make sure you have time for lunch. These all, may sound simple, but I know when you're in the working world, often very difficult to, on busy days to carve out time for yourself. But in the long run, we've learned that the benefits are immense.
Whatever it is, a person could try, and the employee or firm should hopefully allow them to do it. Take some time each day or each week to perform some, perhaps random, perhaps not, but some kind of act of kindness that will help them, and you'll reap the benefits because you'll feel better for helping them, and maybe that will stimulate them to do something to help someone else. And as you said, it could be striking up a conversation, reconnecting with someone. And sometimes people are reluctant to do that because they felt, how am I going to, I haven't been in touch with this person. It could be a friend, a relative, an old colleague, an old classmate. But especially after, I think, after people have been through COVID and other challenges, they want to catch up and reach out. So how can someone in their own mind break the ice and do that?
Well, one thing that's interesting, it's in a different way to think about kindness, and that is that kindness takes courage. So I think just recognizing that is helpful, because I think oftentimes we think of kindness as something soft, but kindness does take courage, and just realize that it's not easy all the time to push through and carry out with your intended action.
And why does it take courage? Because you don't know what will happen. You don't know if it'll be welcome. I mean, someone might think you're a nut.
Right.
Or just be suspicious while you're reaching out.
Yes. And I think that with practice, just like anything else, it gets easier.
And it may not always work. It may not always have the intended effect. But if you do it a couple of times, more likely than not, the recipients are going to be grateful.
Yes. And you know what, Ken? I give you great credit for even, focusing on this topic in a show, because I think there's tremendous benefit in just having the conversation and focusing on it. And if we all did that a little bit more, whether it was daily or even monthly, I think that, we would all feel more ripples of kindness.
And we'd also feel more supported because, as you said, this can help break down isolation. Perhaps people need things, a little, help with something, with a challenge, or maybe a lift, maybe a cup of coffee. And sometimes we're inhibited. We think it's kind of awkward to do it. Tell us about some of your other work, the books you've written about kindness and what led you to write them.
We have a book called The Christmas Tree That Changed the World. And everything you need to know is on our website, christmastreeofkindness.com. And although we started with the Christmas tree, one day we've been asked to expand to other types of trees. And we welcome all different types of trees, but you have to learn to walk before you fly. But anyway, the theme in our book is adding an ornament to a tree after doing a kind act. And there's a free app and a free craft activity that you can download from our website, again, christmastreeofkindness.com. So you can enjoy this activity in your home, in a classroom, or even as an office activity. Everybody can join the same tree with a prepared message and passcode and add ornaments as kind acts are completed. And then at the end, you get a star for the top of the tree, and everyone can celebrate that our world is a kinder place.
But those books also help educate people about the value of kindness? Your books?
Yes. And it's just putting it into practice. And it's the story, actually it's a children's story. And the heroes are a young evergreen tree named Spruce and puppy friend Holly, and how they find that when they give, they really receive, which isn't an original concept, obviously, but it's one worth revisiting, and especially for children to learn the value of giving, that when you give, you really receive happiness.
And you also never know what it will lead to, but it will lead to happiness and may lead to even more.
That's right. And also in the book, it encourages everyone to look at the possibility that if everyone decorates their own tree with kindness, we really could make big changes in our world. Because sometimes, it's a little frustrating when we look at the news and everything going on and what can we do? How can we make things better? And sometimes just trying to improve things in our world, our immediate world, in our family, in our homes, in our office. These are steps in the right direction.
And even with the Christmas tree aside, even if someone tries to do some kind of act of kindness every day, every week, in the end, it's going to make their world and the world a better place.
Yes. I love this proverb that I recently learned. It's a Russian proverb. And it says, everything genius is simple. And, the way we talk about kindness, it's not all that complicated, especially compared to some of the things, Ken, that you address in your field. Very complicated matters. But I think kindness really is, it's genius, because we really can have a big impact.
Well, it also is very simple. I mean, some people say the longest journey begins with a simple step. So if you take that one little step to exercise kindness, it just begins your journey. I want to remind our listeners that we're talking with Beth Desson Duffy, and she's talking to us about how being kind can help lawyers and their clients. And obviously, it's good for the doer as well as the beneficiary of the kindness.
Correct.
And what are some other ways that lawyers or others can be a little kinder, and what are some other ways they can reap the benefits of doing that?
Sure. So some other ways, ideas, kindness to clients would be sure to not only to explain the process, but to explain the potential outcomes patiently and compassionately. Ken, you touched on that a little bit too. The situations are obviously often emotionally charged. Being patient and compassionate would certainly, I think, help the situation. And also something as considerate as providing comfortable seating and surroundings, offering convenient hours, be punctual for court appearances and office appointments. These are all signs of respect for your client. And of course, to be honest at all times. And then, kindness to other lawyers, court personnel and staff could include sharing information with your colleagues, being available to answer questions. Don't disparage other attorneys to potential clients, and to express appreciation to support staff in the office and in the court system. I can only imagine that must especially go a long way.
As you mentioned before, just checking in on someone, maybe someone you had some kind of connection to, this could apply to your staff and your current clients and your former clients as well, because, a lot of things have occurred in life. And you also mentioned how lawyers can be a little flexible and in logistics, in where they meet clients, in scheduling them at a convenient time, and figuring out what their needs are, whether it's transportation or babysitting. Just in the news the other day, someone's child was arrested for loitering outside a lawyer's office where their parent was meeting with the lawyer. So if the lawyer at the outset had made sure that the family was taken care of while they were taking care of business, perhaps that would not have happened. But maybe it didn't occur to either one. So it's always good to, check on logistics and try to set up a favorable situation for everyone concerned.
Yes.
I just want to remind our listeners, we're talking with Beth Desson Duffy. We're talking about how being kind can help lawyers and their clients. If you missed any part of the program, just go to the website for the podcast at nccradio.org, and you're listening to Law Should Know here on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. Beth, just give us your website again.
Yes, ChristmasTreeOfKindness.com.
And you have other ideas there and examples of kindness, and you have an opportunity to interview people about how kindness, being kind or receiving kindness made a difference to them.
Yes, please visit it when your schedule permits.
Okay. Being nice to people and thinking about them is not something that needs to be thought about at Christmas, but it should be 365 days a year.
Correct. We just are getting the ball rolling.
And regardless of our differences economically, culturally, and in religion, kindness always works and it's always welcome.
Yes, I think it's tremendous. It's our common ground.
And in many cases, it doesn't cost much or doesn't cost anything and can accomplish so much.
Yes.
And your final thoughts?
So my final thoughts, this is really like gilding the lily, but I want to say that, Kenneth, I Googled you to learn more, and I see that you have received the highest rating from Martindale-Hubbell for legal ability and ethics.
But I'm not sure that's based on kindness. So, but give us your final thoughts.
No,
besides
but
me.
my final thought is adding to that I think kindness must be included in there.
Well, I think it's good for lawyers to make it part of their practice. There's really no downside. You can be a tough litigator in court, but for other situations, a little kindness goes a long way.
Yes.
And what's next on your journey of kindness?
Oh, next on my journey, it's not just myself. We have a team. There's many of us that have been involved with the book, the app, the free craft, and we're going to continue to educate other people just by having conversations just like this.
And your website again?
ChristmasTreeOfKindness.com.
I'd like to thank you for being on Law You Should Know and for everyone tuning in. If you missed any part of the program, you want to tell someone else about it, just go to nccradio.org and be kind to yourself and be kind to others as well. And please join us next week at this same time for another program on Law You Should Know on 90.3 FM, the radio station of Nassau Community College in Garden City, New York.